All right, everybody, I think we're ready to get started. Welcome. Thank you again for taking the time to join us tonight. We are here to hold a community information session and give an update on our North McDowell Improvement Project. And I am Jessica Medina. I'm the communications manager for the project, and I'd like to introduce Christopher Bolt, our Director of Public Works and Utilities.
Thank you, Jessica. Good evening, everyone. I'm Christopher Bolt. I'm your Director of Public Works and Utilities here in Petaluma. So glad you could join us this evening to learn about this project and its progress. We do have so many exciting things happening in Petaluma right now in our beautiful city. And North McDowell is one of our most important and significant street projects that we've had in many years. So super excited to have our team share an update on how the project is coming along and some of the things to expect in the very near future. So with that, I will introduce briefly Gina Benedetti-Pecknick, our Assistant Director of Public Works and Utilities. And I'll turn it over to you. Ken Eichstedt is our Senior Traffic Engineer here at the city, and he has been working alongside Jeff Stutzman, our City Engineer, to project manage this project. Go ahead, Ken. Thank you.
Oh, you're muted, Ken.
You wouldn't think. Thank you very much, Christopher. I'm Ken Eichstedt, traffic engineer for the city. And we're gonna go through the project here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the project scope, the project status, sort of some of the upcoming work that's really important with anybody that's impacted by on North McDowell that uses it or lives by it. I do want to give a shout out. Jeff Stutzman, city engineer, has been doing a lot of work on the project. Also, Mike Christ, city inspector, Mehran Ibrahimi is assistant engineer on the project. And then we're working closely with our transit operator, Jared Hall, and other city staff to make sure this project goes smoothly for everybody and that we set something in place here for the next 30 years. So thank you. And if you want to.
Ready to get started?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you see it.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Good. Okay. There we go. And we'll go to the next slide here. So what we have is the corridor here is 1.75 miles from Sunrise Parkway to Old Redwood Highway. And the work has started at Old Redwood Highway, proceeding along what we're going to call the project west side, and now we're past Corona, headed to Sunrise Parkway. Okay, next. So the scope, important part of the work is the sidewalk gap closure, the roadway reconstruction. We're improving the bike lanes and putting in new and enhanced crosswalks at 4 different locations. We're making signal timing improvements, and we're improving the transit access. So the rough cost of this right now is $12 million. The pictures on the right here show some of the work, working with the utility companies to improve the walkability and path to travel along the margins along the edges of North McDowell. So the primary goal, and for me personally, is safety on this corridor. The figure that's on the right here shows in yellow, in some places in orange and red, the incidence of collisions. And so everywhere where you see those colors, that's a high incidence of injuries and collisions that are occurring along the corridor. So, and we want to improve the pavement surface. I have no shortage of people asking about when North McDowell is going to be improved. So we are doing it. And we want to enhance the active transportation elements along this corridor. So along with that, the folks using the transit facilities, we want to improve the bus stops and the access across North McDowell. We want to look at reducing the congestion and by improving the signalization. We want to facilitate commerce and make sure that the vital traffic going to our businesses on this corridor can get in and out. And then we want to look at what we're doing for the future here and the council approved climate goals. So we start with retaining walls. You may say, well, that's maybe not much of a big deal, but it actually has a pretty big impact. We have a lot of area, a lot of occurrences where there is no sidewalk, and in order to get the sidewalk installed, we need to put some sort of a retaining wall in there. We've been working carefully around the trees, working with arborists. I've made multiple presentations to the tree committee and trying to minimize trees and get the place for the sidewalk to go. And so if we look at closing these sidewalk gap closures, we've done over 10,000 square feet, over a third of a mile. We have more to do. We're improving this path of travel. I've seen people, particularly down by the Petaluma Health Center, that were having to walk in the roadway because there was no sidewalk. We are making ADA compliant sidewalks so that you don't have to necessarily be on a steeply banked driveway ramp. You can get around that safely. So we've taken there's a lot of effort that goes into this. You may think it's just simple flat work and we put it in there, but there's actually a fair amount of effort to make this realize this important goal. And then we get to where we can put in the curb ramps. And this is, for me personally, very exciting because here we've got an opportunity to be able to do bulb outs so we can reduce the pedestrian crossing distance. We can shorten the time that motorists have to wait for the pedestrian to cross. We can improve the visibility and the sight lines, for the pedestrian and the motorists that are along this corridor. So we've put in over 30 of curb ramps, and we have probably about that same amount to go. Actually, maybe a little bit more than that. So. And then something that's not as romantic as doing the sidewalks, utilities. We're taking the opportunity to improve some of the utility laterals that needed to be replaced. We're having to raise and lower utility vaults, and we're going through various utility purveyors to do that. Sonic, Comcast, AT&T, PG&E, working with them. And then we're going to be reconfiguring the irrigation system. So I'm directly working with property owners to ensure that we put something back that's going to help the city into the future. All right, so what about some of the upcoming work? These pictures here you see are south of Corona, and they had some of the most congested areas in the sidewalk area, because we've got some very large PG&E poles that are not easily or cheaply moved. And so we're trying to go through, we've acquired easements and we're working around those poles. So you have, if you're in a wheelchair or you're a parent with a stroller, you can get around them easily. So we've gone through that effort, and it's been going very well. And we've also got pedestrian Z crossings. So the city is going to be installing 3 pedestrian crossings that are Z crossings. There will also be a crossing at Petaluma Estates that we're working with, collaborating with SMART on, that will be installed so pedestrians can get from across McDowell, across the railroad tracks. They can get to the future multi-use path that will be installed by SMART as a future project, which I'll talk about a little bit. Pictures here on the right, the upper one is Washington Street by the airport, where we installed a Z crossing there. And that's a good example of what you'll be seeing here. And this is in a plan view. We're looking down on the drawing. This is actually the location for the connectivity between Lagunitas and Hen House. And what we see at the top of this picture on the right there is coming from Lagunitas. You would cross the first 2 lanes of traffic, and then you would be making a right turn. You would look north, and you would see the traffic there, and then you would safely cross over to the other side. We're initially installing these with RRFBs, rapid rectangular flashing beacons, but we have another project going forward with a Hawk system that would actually be a full stop condition to allow this pedestrian crossing to move forward. There's more involvement in getting that element of the project forward. We need to get power. We have to work with PG&E on it. So we didn't want to delay getting these installed and doing it in an expeditious and safe manner. So now we've got a couple of pictures on the bike lane. So in the conflict zones, we use green paint. The 2 upper pictures here on the left and right are on either side of the SMART tracks. So we're coordinating with SMART on their work. They're actually going to end up doing some of the pavement work because they've got a project to replace the track panels that you cross over that are in bad shape. They're actually the original panels when SMART started operating on the corridor. So they're going to replace those and do some pavement work, some signalization, and then they're going to be installing the crossing for the multi-use path. The picture at the bottom here is the green is the path to travel on the multi-use path, the crossing on the left there of McDowell, and then a FRA crossing of the tracks, and then you would continue north towards Pengrove, towards Corona Street. All right, so this is an important part of the work, and kind of the heart and soul of it is the pavement reconstruction. I won't get into too many of the details on this work, but there's been a lot of careful planning and engineering that has gone into this, and we're using a process called cold central plant recycling, which reuses all the material. It's a system of pavement reconstruction that has is got a focus on environmental sustainability and reduction of greenhouse gases. So we're putting this into play, and the initial step is to grind the pavement and part of the sub base, the rock base below the pavement, remove that, reprocess it, and then bring it back out and place it down. But there's a cure time on this, and the extent of this work is going to be up to 3 months. So I just want to get everybody ready for that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and but recognize it's been a bit messy so far. I did check in with Sergeant Spiller, the traffic officer, and there have been no crashes that have been made aware to him on it, and we will be doing enforcement to try to keep the safety along the corridor, keep it well intact as we move in through these different operations. Once we're done with that, once we have the new blacktop put down, then we go into the marking, striping, and the final cleanup. So future improvements, I've met with Relief and have walked portions of the corridor with them. As I said, I've presented to the tree committee, and we are actively moving forward with certainly replacing trees, but actually putting in new trees just to beautify this corridor. and also been working with our Deputy Director, Chelsea Thomas, on how to provide for drought tolerant landscaping. And so working with the property owners on that effort. And in order to put something back here, it'll take us for the next 30 years. So I'm particularly excited, proud to see this work move forward. We need to get all the construction work done, but this is something that is very much in play. And then some of the other work that's going to be going on is what's happening with SMART, with the new station that's going to be installed, and then the future Corona development. With regard to the SMART activities, there's four main activities that they have. There's the station, there's the track panel replacement. So those are the panels in the roadway that I'm sure you have noticed when you drive across the tracks on McDowell. Those will be replaced with a smoother, more durable condition. And then we've got the multi-use path going from South Point all the way up to Corona and then on up to Pengrove. And then we've got the crossing I'd mentioned. The Corona development, that work, I don't have a direct schedule on that, but I know that is in design. The SMART work is probably best to go to the SMART website for that, but we expect that work to be, starting early to mid next year on it. All right, so tentative schedule, we're, proceeding with the work along the boundaries of North McDowell, putting in the sidewalk, the retaining wall sidewalk, doing the curb ramps, and we're going to move in the middle of June. We expect the pavement operations to start. And those are going to be lasting approximately 3 months. I should also mention the traffic conditions at that time are probably, there's going to be a lot more one lane each direction that's going to be occurring during that. But I do want to emphasize, it's very important that all driveways are open. If we can't keep all the driveways, that there is definitely an alternate route that's provided, but we're trying to minimize that occurrence. We're trying to keep all driveways and the intersections open. I will mention that SMART's work may have a different impact on it. So what I'm talking about now is directly related to the North McDowell Complete Streets project. And then we moving into November when we're wrapping things up. We're doing the final testing and punch list items and cleanup on it. So, and I will just mention the landscaping is going to be going on through that process once we end it. So I did want to make mention of that. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ken. So I'll take it from here, just talking about the community outreach that we've done so far. Communicating about this project to the people of Petaluma is super important to us. This is a really well-used roadway, and we know it's a very important part of people's day for many people in Petaluma. So we pre-construction held 2 community workshops to gather feedback from the community about what they would like to see on the corridor. Oh, hey, Christopher, did you want to hop in? Okay, I saw you pop up. We've run ads in the Argus. We have signs on site advertising the project that we're doing. We've sent dedicated emails to people who've signed up to receive updates. So some of you may have received those in your inbox today, promoting the meeting tonight. We've sent postcards. We did a citywide mailer ahead of the project starting, and we've since sent dedicated postcards to certain areas, like, we call it the McDowell neighborhood, but the neighboring businesses and homes in the nearby area. We've done key stakeholder outreach. So key businesses along the corridor, we've actually gone door to door to introduce ourselves, explain the project, gather contact information so that we could easily get in touch with people as the project progresses, and really wanted to ensure that we're causing the least disruption to the businesses in the area and to the customers visiting those businesses. So we held dedicated meetings with some of those key stakeholders, Lagunitas being one, the Redwood Gateway Shopping Center being another. And we've also offered and would like to offer to any business along the corridor custom communication support. So if you'd like materials or messaging to provide your staff and customers, we're happy to work with you to craft something that's specific to your business, just to help you get the word out. And we've also included messaging about McDowell regularly in our community update emails that are now going out bi-weekly. That's the citywide community update emails. We have like, I think around 18,000 subscribers for those. And we have also posted about it on our social media channels. So, oh wait, the slide's not going. Am I pressing the wrong button? There we go. So here's some examples of the materials that we put out. Here you can see our construction sign. So we have one of these on the corner of Old Redwood Highway and North McDowell down by Applebee's. And then another down at North McDowell and Sunrise Parkway. Here's some examples of some of the mailers that have gone out. This here is a full page Argus ad. And yeah, just trying to continue to get the word out. And we would love to ask or invite you to spread the word also. If you, know of anybody who doesn't know about the project, please feel free to send them to the project webpage, which is cityofpetaluma.org/McDowell. We post periodic updates there. We also post recordings of our workshops and workshop materials like our PowerPoint presentations. So if people weren't able to attend the meetings, they can just click through at their leisure, watch the videos. We have a dedicated email address, mcdowell@cityofpetaluma.org. That goes directly to me and I believe Ken and some other people on our team. So please feel free to email us, call us anytime. That's our main public works and utilities phone number. And also go to cityofpetaluma.org/subscribe. And if you haven't already, please sign up to receive our community update emails because we send some really great information about, the happenings around Petaluma and specific projects, our CIP projects like North McDowell that could impact you as you navigate your way around town. And I think that's it for me. Or I can take us in. So I think now, Ken, are we ready to go into the discussion?
That's what I was thinking, yeah. And
Okay.
then I've got one slide I'd like to end with, but yeah, if we have any questions, then we'd take those now.
Great. Yeah, so we'd like to invite anybody to raise their hand. And if you have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to share with us, we're here and we're listening. I don't see, oh, I see one hand raised. Okay, I think we're ready. Emily Sharton, I'm going to allow you to speak. And I will stop sharing my screen.
Hi, I'm Emily Sharton. I'm the advocacy coordinator for the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition. And I just had a question. Thanks for the update and the presentation. I know, or I believe when this project went before the council late last year, there was some discussion around road diet and potentially revisiting the idea of protected bike lanes on North McDowell. And I'm just wondering if that has been looked at again, been factored into your design at all. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that, Emily. So yeah, we are actually modeling a conversion 5-3 on North McDowell. So we currently have 2 lanes each direction with a center turn lane, 5 lanes, and we're looking at what would the effects be to narrow that down. The challenge with North McDowell is it's got over 20,000 ADT, average daily traffic, but the bigger part of that is almost 10% is truck traffic, and so the main USPS distribution facility is at Corona and North McDowell. Trucks are coming in there 24/7. We've got a lot of industrial places along the corridor there. So that really affects the traffic. Vehicular traffic is one thing, but truck traffic has a big impact. But we are doing that model. Plan right now is to go to council in June and make a presentation on that, as well as the landscaping and the tree implementation. I will say, we've got a pilot project on Rainier where we have parking buffered bike lanes, and we just put a handful of what's referred to as K71s, which are a hinged vertical element to give some meaningful separation beyond just paint on the ground between the bike lane and the vehicular lane. And so I've been collecting information, and I certainly ask if anybody has specific ideas or information they want to send it. But looking at trying to do a condition like that at key areas where we want to make sure there's delineation and separation of the different travel modes. So does that answer your question, Emily, or do you have any other?
No, it does. Thank you. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I was muted or not. No, thanks.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, thanks, Emily. Let's see. Next, we have Marie Louise.
Oh,
Hi, Marie. We can hear you.
okay, thank you. I think this is for Ken. I am a resident in Youngstown Mobile Home Park, which is right next to the Petaluma Estates. And when the traffic is in a single lane condition, it backs up so that we can't go left on to McDowell from Youngstown. And I was wondering if it would be possible to put a painted sign on the pavement like they have in front of Petaluma Estates. And I was wondering about the impact of the smart station when it's there and the housing, if a actual stoplight would be better, because some of us, could use the help to get out onto this. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about was the smart pad. I walk along McDowell, or I did before the project started often, and I wonder about putting a smoother one, certainly more durable, because the pad that's there now was a little slippery when it was raining heavily this past winter. And I question making the pad smoother in addition to making it more durable. I had to be kind of careful crossing that.
Okay. Thank you very much. And it's Marie.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Marie. So I think I've got your questions here with regard to the temporary condition and putting some sort of a stay clear, sort of like what they have in front of the fire station. I think that's what you're referring to. Unfortunately, the whole project's moving, and it won't be that long before the pavement's going to be torn up. So there's not going to be a lot that we can do on that, unfortunately. I'll definitely mention it to our inspector to see if there's anything that could be done, and I'll inquire. Jeff Stutzman has good ideas at times, so we'll see if there's something we could do on that. But unfortunately, it's kind of part of the construction process. With regard to the smart station, that facility going in, it has will have an effect on traffic overall, but it hasn't been shown to be excessive on it. So I would have to look in greater detail on the actual studies on it. But then putting in a stop condition, the challenge with where you are, I feel like I'm not giving you the best news, but it's just kind of the reality. You know, it's so close to Corona that because of the amount of traffic that we have on the roadway, this is one of our busier arterials. You know, it has the most truck traffic, and so this and East Washington have some real challenges on it. So that's why the stop condition so close to Corona would be problematic.
Could
And
you
then
explain
yeah.
a little bit, Ken? And I think you have before, but what an arterial is?
Oh, okay, yeah. So we have for general concept, we'll say we have three different types of roadways. So we have arterials, which are like Petaluma Boulevard and Old Redwood Highway, Washington, and North McDowell. So those are arterials, are higher speeds, higher amounts of traffic, and then we get into connector roadways, and those are going to be, you know, lower amounts of traffic and kind of medium speeds, and that's going to be something like Maria or Garfield, Payran. Those are connector roadways, and then we have local and neighborhood streets, which are going to be the sort of the cul-de-sacs and the streets that are more directly serving just, you know, residential areas. I do want to ask, so you're using the term pad, and I just want to make sure, are you talking about the yellow detectable surface that you see, and you're saying that
Oh,
that is slippery?
No, the black one that is on either side of the tracks.
Oh, yeah, no, that's, yes, no, that is all going to be, that whole crossing condition there, whether you're walking or biking, is going to be greatly improved. You know, we're collaborating with SMART on it, but it's really SMART's project that's going to start after we're completed with this effort on North McDowell. No, that's original. Before that was there before SMART was even was formed.
Right, you're right. I just did something smoother. Thank you so much for consideration.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Marie. Next, we have Nicola Fry. Nicola, I'm going to allow you to talk.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Ken, it's nice to meet you again.
Yeah.
I'm at Petaluma Estates. We've dealt a lot. Lately, this last week and this week, we have had real difficulties getting out our driveway because right now they're working on our two driveway areas. But there is no signal person. There's nobody who stops the McDowell traffic. Before, we had somebody would stand there and stop the traffic and let us get out. The last 2 weeks, there's been no one there.
Okay.
And when they have their large trucks parked right at the corner of our driveway, you can't see the traffic coming from the north.
Right.
And so we're kind of leery of trying to go out at all.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely make sure that is communicated to the contractor, and if we need to get, you know, they need to get an additional, you know, person or two out there to make sure that traffic movement from Petaluma Estates, you know, happens safely. We will ensure that.
Yeah, and I'm sure Youngstown is dealing with the same thing because we're all so close together.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna make sure that that is well communicated to the contractor.
Okay, thank you. And I have one other thing. Did I just hear you say that we are going to get a crossing between us and the railroad?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. That area, it's just gonna greatly improve, you know, the accessibility. And I have a dream as a traffic engineer that, you know, maybe folks won't feel, compelled to necessarily have to drive, you know, 1,000 feet to the postal facility to mail a letter, but maybe this will be a good opportunity to walk that, and you could do it, and you could cross safely on McDowell. So I will say that the timing, again, this is a SMART project, and you know, that will go into construction on the tail end of our work. So, but it is happening. So.
And what kind of crossing is it, Ken?
That one is going to be a full stop condition. So it's, you know, the pedestrian will push a button and the traffic will stop as they would stop at a stoplight.
So
And-
there's like a light there?
Yep, yep,
Oh, wow.
yep. And they can safely cross on that. So it's yeah, that's exciting. And then the bike access, we've gone through multiple design iterations to make sure that we can get people safely from traveling on North McDowell, whether north or south, and they can move in a efficient, safe manner onto the multi-use path, the MUP that SMART's putting in there. So you're heading south, you want to get to downtown, you want to get over to South Point, you'll have a really good access on the bike to do that. You want to go up to Pengrove, go towards Corona Road and Pengrove, you can do that safely.
So we all thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Great, thanks, Nicola. And next we have John Shribs. Let me allow you to speak, John. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this extra explanation for the public. I just have a few questions I wanted to follow up with things I've been asked in the past, but I want some clarification what's going on. One suggestion I was just thinking about for the Z crossings that we're making, and I've seen and actually experienced myself either walking through them or watching other folks go through them. And many times the cars don't recognize that they need to stop. And so a couple of things we could do to help is, one, we need to sort of like educate the pedestrians that may be in that area that may be walking across that, yeah, just be cautious when using these things. Don't assume cars are going to stop for you automatically and walk in front of a moving vehicle. But since we have cameras now increasing all over the place in intersections, is it possible to add a camera, since we have lighted and even the cars are stopped, but even if there was a camera that could be there, and if the camera detects that there's a pedestrian in the crosswalk and a car is not about to stop, but a horn would honk, as so warning the pedestrian to wake up and look for the car on that, or warn the car also that hey, there's a problem here. So adding a sound to the crosswalk, just to have a little added safety, especially going across this major arterial. So sound as well as light as a possibility. That's just an idea I was thinking of. Next is on, I've known some of the bike community has asked questions before. We had one bicyclist already, but to continue the bicycling, with the two issues on that. One is the actual tracks. So the tracks are very diagonal, and I've almost slipped into the hole myself going either north or south on McDowell. I had to be very careful in crossing it in as much of a diagonal as a perpendicular as possible, even with especially with racer thin tires. So I was wondering if the railroad folks, the Smart Train, were actually going to install some sort of rubber things or change the direction so that you actually make everyone kind of come around a little bit, so they don't chance slipping into that very diagonal hole that's there, because it's about two inches wide and everything, and easily to be slipped into if you're not really paying attention. And then another bicycle thing that was asked before is continuing. Once we've got this part done on McDowell, continuing down McDowell south, if could be more bicycle lane increases heading down, so that folks, once they're on this path and riding their bicycles, can continue. Because there's some spots heading south that get a little tight as you're running down south on McDowell there. And I know I'm even around getting closer to Washington, I ride on the sidewalks myself when using Lynch Creek. I just take the sidewalks and use get around the shopping center rather than trying to get into the street, because cars are getting pretty close there. You don't have 3 feet really in some sections. Let's see, other things to catch up on. One is on the trucks. A couple of citizens have asked me about is there a way of getting more monies from the truck industry, either through directly, if the trucks that are going to be using it, or the businesses that have large trucks coming in, if there's some sort of a fee that they could be helped for road repair and road maintenance. And the second one is, if not the businesses, but if the state, if it's a truck route, does that allow us to get fees from the state? for helping maintain this road at a higher level for the trucks. And you said 10% are trucks using this. That's pretty substantial on that. And finally, a question on, I know I've written down Eli North, which is parallel to McDowell. And once this is improved, I'm definitely going to take McDowell because so far I'm usually taking Eli at parallel to get over to Redwood Highway. But if we could also look at that particular road either in combination, because you have basically a 2-lane country road there that's parallel that I've just ridden a couple times recently, and it's like cars are pretty darn close to me on that one. So those are a series of questions. So I'll let you go ahead and see if you come up with some answers.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Thanks for taking the time to put together that list. And we will look into all of these things.
Yeah, that's fine. You can answer it later. I'll be listening later on too.
Great. Okay. Let's see. We actually don't have any other hands raised. So with that, Ken, would you like me to return to the PowerPoint?
If you could, I wanted to show this picture just because it means a lot. It means a lot to me, on this project. And I was out at the site with Jeff. Actually, we were meeting with Smart. This is probably 2.5 years ago, and we were developing the project, going through the planning, getting everything teed up, and this gentleman, comes through. He's got a 3-wheeled electric trike, and he has to stop, and that slippery crossing there that was mentioned earlier, that he got off and walked across that, and then he rode going south in the on the shoulder, and his name is Fred. He's 91 years old, and he goes and volunteers his time. And this guy had the brightest smile, and oh my gosh, he was just a gem of a guy. And I'm like, this is why we need to do these type of projects, that we can allow people that that are into their senior years to travel safely on it. And I was just admiring his fortitude and his happiness, and he just got things done. So, this is inspiration for all of us, and the work that we're doing here, the city's doing is for the next 30 years. And I personally take that, very, very seriously. And so thank you.
Thanks, Ken. And I realized I just kind of jumped in at the end of John's comments, but if you have anything you want to respond to,
I do. I can't get all those. I've noted them, and thank you very, very much for the comments. I like your style and your thinking, because it definitely keeps me on my toes. A couple of things, the crossings. So we're going to have perpendicular crossings. So that's part of Smart's work. So those panels are going to be replaced, but the whole crossing for pedestrians and bicyclists and people rolling is going to be at a perpendicular with safe crossing on the track. So I want to make sure that that's noted. And the Z crossings, we are. It's going to be a separate project, but we've set the foundation here so that we're not the work that we're doing now is going to be able to be built on for the Hawk system, for the stop condition pedestrian crossing. And the PED buttons we put in, they do have sounds. I think the term is APS. And so there is signalization, audible and visual that goes with those. So they're ADA compliant, and that is something important. Yeah, and I mean the overall education to make sure people can use these is important, and that's something that Jessica and her group in the communications section of the city works with. I can do so much with paint and asphalt and concrete, but I really need people like Jessica to do education, help with education. I need the police department to do enforcement. We're all here collectively working on these things to get the best outcome. So thank you.
Okay, and I see John raised his hand again. So John, I'm gonna allow you to speak.
Good. Yeah, Ken, I really want to thank you for all the work you've done to try to get some trees on the sideline there. And I thought I'd just ask how much cooperation we're really getting from the landowners on either side, whether or not they're willing to put extra effort themselves into helping with that, so that they are willing to either help with getting trees in, getting the irrigation set up, or are they kind of expecting the city or relief to do that work and kind of laying back?
Yeah.
Are we getting financial and cooperation from the landowners on either side?
Well, it's all a mixed bag, and I'm not gonna go into any details, but I'm fairly passionate about this, so I'm meeting with folks very regularly. I've got a meeting 7:30 tomorrow. Look at what we're doing. We've developed a treescape plan for the corridor. We're putting together a template for drought tolerant landscaping. I've worked with Chelsea Chelsea Thompson with our deputy director on environmental management, and gotten all the water usage records because we'll be back in a drought condition before we know it. And so trying to, again, plan for the next 30 years and what can we do there. And I will be, there's a lot of people, property owners, start from the bottom line, but there's a lot of benefits that can directly improve their bottom line that we are, messaging. And we're hitting it from multi fronts, and we've got some really good ideas, so stay tuned. Jessica knows about some of it, and it's exciting. So I think it's not going to necessarily happen when this project is completed, but the key parts of it to move it forward are definitely there.
Thank you so much for all this really in-depth effort. You've really gone after it entirely, and the whole team support this huge project and making it work as quickly as it is. I just want to be thank you. The staff just continues to amaze me with the strength of actions that you're taking. All right.
Thank you. It is a team effort.
Thank you, Member Shribs. We take that to heart. Thank you.
Okay, so that is all the hands raised. Anybody else out there in the audience? Would you like to say anything? Ask any questions? We're here, you have us. Okay, nothing. So I think with that, I think that concludes our meeting. Gina, Christopher, Ken, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I'd just like to thank everybody for taking time tonight, and it's 6:53. The Warriors game starts in 7 minutes. So
perfect.
We'll go now to the lobby and sign autographs real quickly, but we're going to want to catch the game. So, but in all seriousness, thank you, everyone. This is, again, a very important project. And if you need to talk with us, we're happy to come visit you at your home, or I have walked to the project with some residents, and Ken has as well. As you know, we really sincerely care. We love this community, and we want to make sure our projects are successful and that we take care of your worries and concerns to the best of our ability. So thank you. Thank you so much. And don't hesitate to reach out to us if you need anything. And please pass the news on to your friends and neighbors who may also have concerns. This is recorded, and it will be on the project website if anybody wants to catch up and watch it later, like maybe after the game. So thank you all.
Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great night.